At the start of 2022, we were all breathing a sigh of relief as we started to accept that non-lethal variants of COVID-19 were going to be a part of our lives going forward. However, by February 2022, everyone was talking about rising food prices. In 2020 and 2021, sowing season was not maximized due to people constraints and 2 turbulent years for weather. So resulting harvests were not as plentiful as previous years. By the end of February, the conflict in Ukraine had started and is still ongoing. This is expected to have a significant further impact on availability and prices of food and oil, which in turn drives up inflation even more. Between Russia and Ukraine, they export 25% of the world's wheat and 70% of the world's sunflower oil. Ukraine is a leading corn and soybean exporter as well. For centuries, Ukraine was considered the breadbasket of Europe. The shortfall in food supply is not expected to ease in 2022 as the conflict is not expected to die down in time for sowing or harvesting of crops in the Black Sea region. Further to these food-related bottlenecks, we are facing rising prices for oil and gas due to sanctions on Russia, and complex supply chains due to the conflict. FMCGs are facing reduced supply of raw materials and fuel, and soaring prices for both. While there are options and alternatives for us as consumers, companies that produce food and beverage brands have fewer options. For example, corn is an essential ingredient of Kellogg's Corn Flakes and they'll not be able to use an alternative ingredient to corn. If they pass on cost increases to their consumers, this may impact demand and market share for the long term. Alternatively, if they decide to absorb all or some of the costs, this would significantly impact their profit. While we've used the example of the Kellogg's company, all FMCG brands will experience this, some worse than others. In order to mitigate the impact, companies will need to focus sales efforts on less impacted brands in their portfolio and reduce the costs of the other raw materials that go into their products by setting up alternative vendors. A more environmentally friendly way for Kellogg's, in this example, to mitigate these cost increases may be to leverage this time to introduce packaging-free product and refillable canisters at stores. This can help them reduce the cost of packaging significantly while attracting more consumers for its climate-friendly practices. While in the short term, they may have lower margins, in the long term, they would be set up to resist competition, to overcome significant economic and supply chain shocks due to a diverse supplier base and to retain or even grow their market share.